Hello, Toon Army! What a fantastic day to be talking about our beloved Newcastle United, isn't it? There's nothing quite like the feeling of being a Geordie, supporting the best team in the world from the heart of Tyneside. I'm absolutely buzzing to bring you some incredible transfer news today that's got me more excited than a Mike Ashley departure announcement. We've got some proper exciting developments happening at St. James Park, and I can't wait to dive into all the juicy details with you magnificent supporters. What do you think about Newcastle finally making serious moves for Joao Pedro? And could this Brazilian wizard be exactly what we need to take that next step in the Champions League? And how do you feel about the potential of having Pedro's versatility across our front three alongside Isak and Gordon? Could this be the attacking depth that transforms our season? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I'm dying to hear what the Toon Army thinks about this massive potential signing. Now then, let's really get into the meat of what Joao Pedro's arrival could mean for our tactical setup and our absolutely massive Champions League campaign that's waiting for us. This is where I get properly excited about the future of Newcastle United, because we're not just talking about signing a good player. We're talking about completing a puzzle that could transform us from Champions League qualifiers into genuine Champions League contenders. Eddie Howe has been working miracles with the squad he's got, but even tactical geniuses need the right tools to work with, and Pedro represents exactly the kind of versatile, world-class tool that could unlock a whole new level of performance from our beloved team. The manager's been desperate to get his hands on Pedro for 3 years now, and you can bet he's been dreaming about the tactical possibilities this signing would create. Let's talk about what this means for our Champions League preparation, because that's where the real excitement lies. European football is a completely different beast from domestic competition. The pace is different, the tactical demands are more complex, and you need a squad that can adapt to different styles of play from week to week. Having Pedro in the squad gives us the kind of tactical flexibility that the very best European teams possess. Think about it this way. When we're facing a team that sits deep and tries to frustrate us, Pedro's ability to drift wide, create space, and deliver that killer pass or shot could be the difference between a frustrating draw and a crucial victory. When we're up against teams that press high and try to suffocate our attack, his pace and movement could give us the perfect outlet to break through their lines. That's the kind of tactical intelligence that separates good teams from great ones. The versatility factor cannot be overstated here. Pedro's willingness to play across the front three means Eddie Howe can set up the team in completely different ways depending on the opposition. Against teams with suspect fullbacks, we could deploy him wide to exploit those weaknesses. Against teams with shaky centre-backs, he could operate centrally and use his movement to create chaos in their defensive structure. This isn't just about having another attacking option. This is about having a player who can be the key to unlocking any tactical problem we might face. What's got me particularly excited is how this signing could elevate the players around him. Alexander Isak has been phenomenal for us, but imagine how much more dangerous he becomes when defenders can't just focus all their attention on him. With Pedro providing another genuine goal threat, Isak could find himself with more space, more opportunities, and more support than he's ever had at Newcastle. That's a terrifying prospect for every defense in Europe. Anthony Gordon has been brilliant for us, but he's still a young lad learning his trade at the highest level. Having Pedro in the squad gives Gordon the perfect role model. Someone who's been there, done that, and knows what it takes to perform consistently at the top level. The Brazilian's experience and know-how could be invaluable in helping Gordon take that next step in his development. The depth aspect is absolutely crucial as well. We've all seen what happens when key players get injured or need a rest. Suddenly, we're scrambling to find solutions and asking players to perform in positions they're not entirely comfortable with. Pedro's arrival would mean we could rotate our attacking options without any drop in quality. That's not just important for keeping players fresh. It's essential for maintaining the kind of intensity and performance levels that Champions League football demands. Let's not forget the psychological impact this signing would have on the entire squad. When you see the club bringing in players of Pedro's caliber, it sends a message that we're serious about competing at the very highest level. It tells every player in that dressing room that Newcastle United aren't just happy to be back in the Champions League. We're here to make a proper statement and show the world that we belong among Europe's elite. The Brazilian connection is something special as well. There's a reason why Brazilian players have such a reputation for flair, creativity, and match-winning moments. Pedro brings that South American magic to Tyneside, and you can bet the Saint James Park faithful are going to absolutely love watching him weave his spells in the black and white stripes. There's nothing quite like a Brazilian footballer who's firing on all cylinders, and the thought of Pedro tearing up the Premier League and Champions League in a Newcastle shirt has me practically bouncing off the walls. From a business perspective, this deal makes perfect sense as well. We're potentially getting a player who was valued at nearly $100 million just last year for $60 million, or possibly even less. That's the kind of smart business that shows we're learning to navigate the transfer market with the same intelligence and ambition that characterizes everything else about our club's transformation. The timing couldn't be better either. Pedro is 23 years old, which means he's entering his prime years and could give us the best part of a decade of top-level performance. This isn't a short-term fix or a stopgap solution. This is a signing that could define the next chapter of Newcastle United's history. Well, that's all from St. James's Park for today, lads and lasses. The thought of Joao Pedro gracing our magnificent stadium has got me more excited than I've been about a potential signing in years. This could be the moment when everything clicks into place for our Champions League campaign and our long-term ambitions. Keep supporting the best team in the world, and I'll be back with more updates soon. Away the lads! Right then, let's talk about the news that's got every Newcastle fan I know absolutely buzzing. Joao Pedro could finally be heading to St. James's Park. After 3 long years of Eddie Howe admiring this lad from afar, it looks like the stars are finally aligning for us to bring this Brazilian magician to Tyneside. And I honestly can't contain my excitement about what this could mean for our beloved club. The numbers we're talking about here are fascinating, and they tell a story that should have every Newcastle supporter dreaming about what's possible. Brighton are apparently looking for around 60 million for Pedro, which might sound like a massive chunk of change. But here's the thing that's got me absolutely made up. Just last year, Brighton were valuing this lad at nearly 100 million. That's a potential discount of 40 million, which in today's mental transfer market is basically like finding a £20 note in your old jacket pocket. Except it's 40 million quid, and it's for one of the most exciting attacking talents in the Premier League. What makes this deal even more beautiful is that Pedro's representatives have already indicated to our club that the Brazilian is genuinely keen on making the switch to St. James's Park. There's nothing worse than chasing a player who doesn't want to come. But this lad seems to understand what it means to pull on that black and white shirt. He wants to be part of what we're building here on Tyneside, and that kind of commitment and desire is exactly what we need as we prepare for another crack at the Champions League. The timing couldn't be more perfect either. Brighton have already brought in Greek striker Charalampos Kostoulas, which means they've got Pedro's replacement sorted and are now ready to cash in. It's like the football gods have finally decided to smile down on Newcastle United after years of transfer heartbreak. We all remember missing out on him 3 years ago, before we signed Alexander Isak. But sometimes things work out exactly as they're meant to, don't they? Speaking of Isak, this is where Pedro becomes absolutely crucial for our future success. Our Swedish talisman has been carrying the attacking burden almost single-handedly, and while he's been magnificent for us, even the best players in the world need support and rotation. Pedro would give us that world-class option to lighten the load on Isak. And more importantly, his incredible versatility means he can play anywhere across that front three. Imagine the tactical flexibility this gives Eddie Howe. We could have Gordon bombing down the left wing, Isak leading the line with his clinical finishing, and Pedro cutting in from the right with his Brazilian flair and unpredictability. Or we could switch things up completely. Barnes providing width on the left, Pedro operating as a false nine through the middle, and Murphy offering pace and directness on the right. The possibilities are endless, and that's exactly the kind of depth and quality we need to compete on multiple fronts. The lad's got everything you want in a modern forward: pace, skill, intelligence, and that Brazilian magic that can unlock the tightest defenses. At just 23 years old, he's entering his prime years, and the thought of him developing even further under Eddie Howe's guidance has me absolutely giddy with excitement. This isn't just about adding another player to the squad. This is about adding a genuine game changer who could transform how we approach every single match. What's even more encouraging is that Pedro has shown he's willing to play wherever the team needs him most. In today's football, that kind of tactical flexibility is worth its weight in gold. When you're competing in the Premier League and the Champions League simultaneously, you need players who can adapt, who can step up in different roles, and who understand that the team comes first. Pedro seems to tick every single one of those boxes. The fact that we're willing to enter negotiations around the 60 million figure shows just how seriously we're taking this opportunity. This isn't some speculative interest or agents trying to drum up a bidding war. This is Newcastle United, making a genuine statement of intent about the level of player we want to bring to St. James's Park.